Hello, dear viewers. Thank you for joining us in another show, the series The Solution, where we're discussing Bala Sulam's economic approach. We have Dr. Laitman with us today and Ophir Levy. Hello. Before we begin, we want to mention that you can see the series The Solution on our site, cap.co.il. Rav Laitman, today we want to speak with you about the work market and about the anticipated changes as we advance toward the integral society. Dealing with the subject of the job market, the work market, is also based on the same aspect, the economic aspects, social aspects, psychological aspects of our life. Today we also want to divide the talk into three stages: the corrected society, the society on the path to correction, and today's current situation. And the first subject we'll start with is the vision, the way you see it for the job market in general. The first question is, we spoke in the previous shows about the development of the desire to a new stage, to a rounder stage, and also technological changes, breakthrough technologies. How do these two factors shape the work market? I'll just say a few words in general. We developed from the stage of animate to speaking. We began to develop. The difference between these two stages is that the speaking stage, the human stage, goes to a higher level of existence. He doesn't leave himself at the animate level like an animal and just arranges his environment nicely, his home, his health, his education, all those things. He deals with this level of life. He also looks after his spiritual inner life. Because a person yearns for something beyond living 70 or 120 years nicely in this world. We see that people are tired of it, that they're starting to ask what's beyond this existence. They're starting to relate to their lives as something, as like a jump to another dimension where they feel something that doesn't have to do only with materialism. What do I want to say? If we make this jump in time or distance, then we'll see humanity according to what nature is bringing us closer toward, in such a way that we'll deal with ourselves, our world, our body in a nice, simple manner, so that it will exist in a convenient, healthy manner, what it deserves. We're looking after the animate level in a normal way. We're not overdoing it like we're doing today, where we see it's in descent, all the culture, education, all those things, because we don't know what measure we have to give each of these things to exist, just like a person overdoes it with food or all kinds of other things, drinking, or not to do beyond. Even if I'm capable to give myself and allow myself, I know that, like the English say, that you get up from the table, you need to still want, you need to have room for another slice of bread after the whole big meal, after the entire meal. Meaning a person has to know what's good for himself, and in that manner, live in that manner. After all this confusion and waste and this whole market and we have today, and they're teaching you how to do more and more things with your life, soon it'll be over, as usual with everything. Then we will see that we are dealing with in our world and our life with whatever we need to exist. From the moment we begin being inside our mothers in the womb, then we're born until we grow up, until we get older, until we finish our lives, that everything will be done in the most optimal manner for our existence, and not more. And then we'll discover that these things don't require such a great exertion from us. Everything is going according to our ego nowadays. Then we're really slaves to our ego. And then it turns out that with technology in accordance with that, which will develop only for this sake and nothing else, we don't need more than that. We don't need to build cars that will run 500 miles an hour or other things that we have no need for. Altogether, all this industry, all this commerce, this integration, this connection between us will only be for the sake of living in harmony with our inner nature and with the external nature. At the end of the day, that's the goal. And in this manner, we will want to live. Of course, it comes from the integral education, from the change in man, that he'll have this understanding, but I see it's like this. I was shocked yesterday to read about some English newspaper, I don't remember, on the internet. I wrote about it in my blog, that Ahmadinejad said, yes, about a government, that a government has to be a certain way, and the religion has to be one single religion in the whole world. It's love thy neighbor as thyself. Look what things come into people's heads, especially people who, like that. You can't believe it's him saying something like that. That the human society has to be homogeneous, and religion. Also, Ahmadinejad said that. We see that these things are beginning to come out from the earth. They're just coming out. And everything else, if you say, what will people do if they only need to work to supply themselves with safe, healthy lives, convenient lives, everything else will be only using man, so they'll know how to connect properly between them, because through that they will begin to understand that here, precisely, has to be the main act, our main act, and thriving in abundance and attaining success will be from the greater and greater connection and correct connection special between us. This will be our future profit. This will be our future livelihood. It won't be from, we'll have all those things, food and university and everything. Once upon a time, before 20 years, when I worked on the internet, when I started building the internet in 93, 94, when we started putting up our first site, I was at home, I sat with one of my students, and I built it. Then everything cost money and bandwidth and everything. Today, you can do whatever you want. You can put as many pictures, as many clips as you want, and it will be the same with everything. There won't be a calculation about the quantity of food or the number of hours, or all these material things they'll develop in a manner with the new technology. They'll reach a state where we won't need to talk about it anymore. It'll be obvious that it's ready and it's possible. Even today it's possible. I'm not talking about the future. Today, if we just arrange society properly, we can We can cover everyone with health and food and everything. There's no problem. The problem is the way we arrange society between us. Therefore, humanity will stop seeing in this something that is out of the ordinary. Like you, 10 or 20, 30 years ago, when I'd go abroad, then only business people went abroad, or people that were, real big, rich people. Then in the 70s, 80s, it started being, it wasn't so simple in those days. Oh, he's going abroad today. It's not even something we think about. I have a week off, I go get on a plane. The same thing in those days. In the future, we won't see it as something special. It will stop being a compensation for something. It will stop being our bonus. It won't give us life. I'll want to see what will fill me, and I'll discover that the only thing that can fill me is the connection between everyone. That they're just like in collective intelligence, like they're discovering now, that money doesn't buy happiness and all that. They're starting to count the profit not in dollars, but in a person's filling. The measuring by happiness, then it will be even more. It will be more in demand. Because people will stop taking the normal things into account. But it's not clear that everyone has what to eat, that everyone has pension, vacation, and all those things. It's as a result of the integral education, they'll begin to feel that the profit is. Today we have suicide, depression. People will start to feel that they're not missing anything. They'll start to discover that only from the unity and connection of society, that's where you're opening up some well, and from there you receive the filling. And the main thing is to pay attention and to deal with it, and people will dedicate all their time to connection. And it will also be keep them busy, and it will also be a pastime and everything. It will be a person's complete what they deal with all day. Because only in that they'll feel that they can really attract the pleasure, the feeling of freedom, harmony. That's what they'll have. The job market, how will it change as a result of this situation? The job market will change. Just like today, if once upon a time I was in the army 40 years ago, maybe even more, and then everyone used to go to the army. Who wouldn't go to the army? Only somebody who was... So everyone would look at him like strangely. Today, how many people go to the army? Now they're saying that they have to lower the budgets, and in all the countries, we don't need that. We need educated people sitting at computers that know mechanics, technical things, but not a lot. I worked in the army for 4 years, and I know what it's like. I know what a waste there is there, and surplus of people. There used to be a need for people to go through the army. So they won't go to the army, they'll go do all kinds of other things. Now already, instead of taking them to the army, we can take them to do services in villages, social services to help out. We don't need them. Just the same with work. We just won't need it. People will work according to their abilities, according to need, according to their desire, according to their necessities that the society needs, and no more. All the rest. But we need to understand again that we're going back to the beginning of our talk, because we, as humans, we need to supply ourselves with necessary food and everything else. We need to put towards building the man in us. And not that I, at the level of speaking, I'm looking after my creature. I'm giving my creature what it needs, this creature. But I'm raising inside me the level of speaking. This is culture, education, the connection between people, and through this connection we begin to feel the higher degree, the higher dimension. And there we will have livelihood. On the one hand, the integral education explains this to us, but where does it take it from? From us actually discovering it from nature, that comes and brings our next state closer to us. And the next format will be altogether what nature creates for us. All of nature will be spiritual nature. How to fill ourselves with pleasure. You mentioned in the past that in the future we will work 2 hours a day and we'll make a lot more than we make today. Profit, it means I don't need to make more than what I have at home. I need 10 suits, I'll have 10 suits. Today it's also not a problem. I need a refrigerator, small or large, I'll have it. Altogether, we have everything in abundance. We don't need more. What do you need more than that? There's a limit to all these things, and we're starting to see it. It's not a problem. If we would organize ourselves correctly between us, then today we would also fill everyone. Then we wouldn't burn these things. We wouldn't waste and throw our vegetables into the ocean, and we wouldn't burn our clothes that their time is up, that they're not in fashion. It's all, we just need the correct order. We can already do it now, especially if we could today, if we would adopt this technology that we already have, we would easily cover everyone with clothes and food. And also apartments. There's no problem to build these things. There's no problem. There's tons of technology. The problem is the egoistic market that's being managed like that, and that's why everything is small and expensive. It's clear to us. Today, the job market, like we said at the beginning, is far more beyond the economic aspect. There's the stigmas that a person has, what the society thinks about him, his self-evaluate, how he sees himself. Work, we need spiritual work, the connection between us. From there, we can take out all our pleasure, get all our pleasure and filling. That's also called work. That's precisely called work, true work. A man's work, not a creature's work or a slave's work that goes 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours and sits there, works his whole life in this manner. I see next to me all those high-tech people living in my neighborhood, in that new area in Petach Tikva, Emma Moshavot. At 6 in the morning, those poor guys, they come out with their coffee and their baby in the hand. She gets into his car, he gets into her car. They put the kid in kindergarten, they're gone for the day. What's the good of that? What are they proud of? What are they doing altogether? It's all one big balloon. What status symbols will we have in the new situation? There's no shortage. Status symbols we even have in a primitive tribe in the Amazons. He has some kind of tattoo or feathers or something else. It's not important. In every society, you can make stuff up. The problem is different. What is the internalness? Where is nature taking us? When I talk to you, I feel like I have to convince you that what I'm saying is rational. The most rational thing is that nature is obligating us, that this is development, the next stage. You want to create a greater crisis. Okay, so don't accept it. But at the end of the day, nature will win. What I'm doing is opening up these stages that today can be identified, that they're already on their way to us. And let's look a little bit ahead. It's not that I'm making up this method, but I'm taking it from those same signs that we see today very clearly. If we already spoke of crisis, the job market is going to be hurt very dramatically. The job market will be exchanged. It'll be spiritual. It's always like that the job market switches from this to this. Tell me, what happened 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago? Every period has its own job market. Now we're also switching to more technology, virtual technologies. If you would say 100 years ago what people will deal with today, they'll sit and they'll type on computers and they'll look at where's the steel, where's the wood. What wood and what steel? So now you don't need that stuff. All these big factories are being closed. Who needs that? Everything's becoming done on computers and plastic. So, same thing. Today we're speaking about what will happen in a few dozen years because everything's getting shorter. And it will be the new world. The work market will be different. I will work in a spiritual manner, meaning I won't go to some office. I will go to social organizations, and there we will deal with a person rising above things with a person's connection with his environment. It'll be more internal work. From virtual, we had the technological period that replaced steam and wood and steel. Then we switched to electricity, and then to the era of science and calculations, and now we're going through another birth. The process that you're describing is clear. I want to ask about the job market. It has a lot of implications for the world market. China supplies people with livelihood. It's a very central element in the world market. Where's the blow going to come from? It's not a blow. They'll switch to it in a smooth manner because simply you'll have tons of people that will get out of today's job market, and you will be left with a problem how to bring them to the new job market because they don't have what to do. And it's not just that they don't have what to do, it's that they need to get in now to the new job market, which is the connection between people. And from there, we will get the new currency called happiness. Happiness so great that we don't need more than what our creature needs. A donkey doesn't need more than his seeds, like seeds of wheat, his good seeds, even the best kind, and water from some nice well. He doesn't need anything else apart from that. Give him a steak or I don't know what, he doesn't need it. The same with our body. We just got used to overdoing it because we didn't have anything else to deal with. We finished this period of looking after our body. Now we have to develop a new body, an inner body, virtual, that I live outside my body, apparently. And that's what you're... So I don't look at these statistics of people that are losing their work, that are unemployed. I don't see them as unemployed. They're not unemployed. They're unemployed from the new work because you economists don't get it, that there has to be new work and a new job market, and that's where we need to start leading them to. We need to switch them over. You're talking about a spiritual job market. Today, there's a market. I go to work, I get paid. What are the laws of the spiritual job market? The laws are very simple. I have a friend. I have friends that are actors. What do they do? I'm asking you. He causes culture, he brings happiness. That's it. People come, they pay for it. He also gets paid well for it. There's a lot of examples of people that make people happy, good attitude, when you go abroad, when you go on a trip. What you didn't have 100 years ago, today you have tons of workplaces that are serving people, that are giving people filling. Theater, trips, all these TVs, it's billions of dollars are invested in it. It's around the world. What is it? They're allowing you to enjoy, yes? Now, what I'm suggesting to you, what I'm recommending for those same people that are starting to be fed up with TV and theater and all these things, that are searching for happiness, let's us open a new business. We will give happiness to people. They will come to us, to our organizations, to our offices, universities, schools, it doesn't matter where. And from participating, from learning with us, from our workshops and everything that we convey to them, they'll get a good feeling, they'll get happiness. What else does a person need? If he has food, clothing, and everything's fine, thank God, everyone's healthy. What does he need apart from this feeling? Nothing. That's what I'm telling you. And that's the work market. And on the other hand, the use of them, that they'll come to learn to fill themselves with this feeling. From the morning till the night, as much as a person wants, until he gets out of there, like he got infusion, like he got a shot. I'm happy. Life is good. Here's birds. I have a small bird in my heart. Everything's great. That's what a person wants. And today, we see that this is the most profitable business. Do it. Do it now with your money that you have now. And then it will be the currency of happiness. And apart from that, just understand that you're asking, where will the country live from if not taxes? It will live from taxes. It will live from those things that are left as necessary, but everything else, no, everything else will fall. Like we see that all kinds of factories are closing and all the businesses that aren't really necessary for a person's life, you'll see. You'll go into supermarkets, you'll see that you won't have such a big choice of 200 kinds of milk. You'll have 5 different kinds or 10 different kinds. It won't come from someone baking it, thousands of types of bread because he has to sell as much as possible. But there'll only be things for the body that we need, and that's it. The pleasure will change because we're always changing. And I said that also in previous conversations. All our advancement is that our desire is changing, also in quantity and also in quality. And now our desire is stopping to enjoy this corporal life, regular life, and you're investing 60% of the product. Even if you invest 100% in advertising, it won't help. Even if the product doesn't cost anything and you want to give it away for free, people won't want it. They won't need that they feel it. They won't feel that it will give them pleasure because their desire has changed. And you won't be able to do anything about it because that's how nature's working. It'll work out that I don't want these things. Give me what normal things for life, and that's it. I don't need more than that. I have freedom. I have a pension. I have food. I have clothing, kids. Thank God, everything's fine. What else? What else? It won't be attractive. If the desire changes, you can't do anything with the person. People are complaining that the workers, the owners are complaining that people don't have motivation to work. Why not? You're making money. I'm paying you more. I'll give you double pay. Work hard. No, he won't do it. It's not his fault. He doesn't have this engine inside that he gets filling from it. And then we reach inner changes. You need to learn a bit of philosophy, I don't know what. History, maybe. There's nothing we can do. I see in economists today that they grasped the moment and 50 years they're behind and they can't leave it. Because it doesn't work anymore. It hasn't worked for a long time. There's something I can't understand. On the one hand, you're describing a life that's very convenient, even at the pension, freedom, going abroad. These are things that cost a lot of money, if I look at it how we look at it today. But on the other hand, you're explaining that the job market that we know today, it's going to minimize down to the necessary level. Nobody's doing it according to his head, but rather nature will obligate us to reach this kind of life. It will obligate us, nature. It's not that somebody will feel like it and he'll decide to cut this down and cut that out. No. Like it's been done till today. It's not according to your economy. It's the economy that will be according to how much we grow inside, how much we'll change, how much we'll understand that nature is demanding us to be connected in the integral society, how we need to appear. And then in accordance to how much integral education we give people, those people won't just be disconnected from the job market and sit at home and won't know what to do until they go crazy and break windows in the street and revolutions and riots. But you yourself will also want to pay for their studies to calm them down. Otherwise, what will it help all the billions that you have? They'll eat you. You also want socially things to be calm. And if you reach 20, 30, 70% unemployed, what are you going to do? And you're saying, how can people not work? They're already not working. But let's look at the future correctly. Let's look after the unemployed properly. Let's look after businesses so that they don't collapse. But let's transfer them to the new style gradually in a way that we feel that there's no need in such quantities. And we'll start handing things out. You're not profiting from having half the country poor. You're not profiting from that, just the opposite. You have a problem. You still have where to escape to because you're a tycoon, let's say, but how many of there are there? Everyone else is suffering. I want to see, I'm all for looking at the future and making some corrections, and also according to the pace that we're being forced to, and not more. And you're closing your eyes, and you don't want to see the facts as they are today. So the correct development according to nature includes the agreement of those tycoons, the people in control. You want them to be convinced, not just them and the governments, and yes, it depends on education. We need to change a man. What's happening today, we're in a transition state, and lots of people are writing about this. We're really in a certain revolution, but the revolution is mainly qualitative. It's the change in a man that's happening. There were always revolutions from one format to another, from one regime to another. And it's just to be more free, to make more money, to be less enslaved to machines or to some leaders. And now the change is in a person. A person is becoming integral. And we need to help ourselves build and not stop it, because that will only bring the crisis. If the economy and people in the economy and all those people that are managing society, the economists and the tycoons and everyone, if they would feel how nature is changing us, they wouldn't bring us to a crisis. It's only from the fact that they are still blocked and don't want to understand that great changes in society and man, in the general forces, in the network between us, and that we're required to make these changes. And the main thing is in the economy and financial things. That's a reflection of the connection between us that is no longer matching what it needs to be. They still want to hold on to the old network, and that's the crisis. No one made the crisis except they themselves, the financiers, that still want to look how they're still teaching today, the economists that come out of university. What are they teaching them? What Adam Smith taught 200 years ago. It's all really... Society until today is operating according to the same laws that they had 2,000 years ago. At the end of the day, that's how they also acted. What's new about it? Nothing. We're way behind. And we need to understand it. Our problem is changing our paradigms. Bala Sulam wrote a very strong condition that everyone will work according to his powers and receive according to what he needs. That everyone will work according to his abilities. When you arrange the new society, first see what you need and you don't need. Then you'll say, I have 10 million people in my country. To supply people with everything, all the basic necessities, like that he wrote about also, that everyone will get their basic necessities for life and no more, and what's healthiest for our creature, and that's what's actually healthiest for us rationally, what everyone needs, and not that we limit, and not that we overdo it. For that, for 10 million people, I need, let's say, 500,000 people to work. And everyone else will do other things. Not things for serving the body, but for serving the soul. What, for example? What kind of work serves the soul? That people will always be dealing with the connection between them. And from there, they will discover sources of happiness. What, will they do workshops all day? No, not just workshops. I'm telling you, it's like today, the industry of culture. We say usually in all this research that a person will deal a lot with culture, with education. What do they mean by that? You've heard that, right? What does it mean, culture? Culture is the source of happiness. Part of them are presenting the thing. They're teaching, they're doing all kinds of activities, and part of them are being operated. Like people playing football are also being operated. And they receive, they also enjoy it, I'm asking you only one thing. Tell me, please. Was a person born just to waste what's on the planet and sell each other things and make more? No. But what else? You're saying, what else do I have to do in life? Maybe we'll kill half of humanity, even more. For what? They're just living and not doing anything, and they're not producing anything. If they're not giving me a few dollars in my pocket every day from their work, so they shouldn't live. Don't you think like that? God forbid, I'm not blaming anyone, I'm just saying this approach was correct, but does not work anymore because the world has become round. Gradually, we're advancing to this format, and in this format, we're starting to make a livelihood from being humans, from arranging this network of connection between us, among us, in a virtual, round manner. And then you will supply one another with happiness. That's what a person needs. What do I work for today? If I work in a good place, 20%, 10% of my work, I need to live normally. Everything else goes towards buying a car, flying abroad, all kinds of other things, a home, etc. It's things that we can also measure those things with a different currency, not with basic necessities, but rather the sources of the spiritual livelihood will only be from the connection between people. Nature is presenting its network, this connection between us, that if we don't get into it, we'll be upset. No matter how much billions you give, people will kill themselves from lack of filling. You still want to obligate people to enjoy dollars. And we're already transitioning to a situation where we can only enjoy the feeling of happiness and not from me having green in my hand. It passes on. It's disappearing, this thing. Let's identify it from far. We'll have the ability to go through all these stages in a smooth manner. We're getting close to the end of the show, and there's still a question that's important for us to verify based on the answers you gave. We're talking about two types of people in the more advanced reality. The people still working and that can supply things, and the people that are working and learning. Will there be a difference in how we relate to them? There'll be robots, automatic machines, even to that extent. What do we need? We need to sit billions Chinese people down to make clothes. It's all just... Today there's no need for that. Almost everything. You have two people that can milk 1,000 cows. You have two people that can manage a whole factory of clothes, of shoes. There's no point. You saw how they make cars? That's how we can make anything. It all depends on if we want it or don't want it. So if this process is really redundant, so also on the side of the spiritual work, we say a person has to work. Who said a person has to work? I see that animals don't work all day. He grabs he catches what he needs to catch to eat. He dug his place out in the ground to live, and that's it. If you take an example from monkeys, they're always arguing between them who's more or less. I hope we're not like that. But still, there's a small point. I'm asking about people who even today want to develop spiritually. There's a few conditions. One of them is working, as we study. That work won't be for money. Just like those people that are in education and dealing with building the new society between them. The spiritual society, the new spiritual human society is the degree of man. Everything to do with our body up till now is the animate level. Inanimate, vegetative, animate, and now we're talking about the speaking level, dealing with the connection between people. Only the integral person is a man, otherwise it's a creature. Sophisticated, but not for good. We have tons more questions, and we'll continue verifying the job market in the next shows. Dear viewers, thank you for being with us in another show in this series, The Solution, where we're verifying Baal HaSulam's economic approach slightly. And you can see these shows on our show, www.kab.co.il. Thank you, Rav Laitman. Thank you, Ophir. Thank you. Until next time, thank you, and so long.